Alright, the topic, scale drawing. Objective, to solve problems involving scale drawings when given a scale. What is scale drawing? A scale drawing is a representation of an actual object. The scale tells how to reduce or enlarge the dimensions of a scale drawing. Scale drawings are similar to and therefore proportional to the actual object. Alright? So scale drawing, when you think about scale drawing, examples of scale drawing in real life would be like a blueprint. What is a blueprint? A blueprint, you're making a house, right? And you want to an idea of how you want to build a house, then you would have a blueprint. So you have a sketch of how you'd want the house, and then you'd have scales on it to say you want the room to be a 10 by 10 feet room or a 20 by 20 feet room, depending. So this blueprint will give you a layout of how the house will look and the measurement and the size by using the scale that is on it. Another perfect example of scale drawing is a map. When you think about a map, whether you have a map of a world or the map of a continent, a state, or so on, the map is on a piece of paper. When you think about the state or that country is much bigger than what is on the map. So that will be a drawing or a scale drawing of that continent or that country or that state that you are in. So it's just give you an idea of how it will look. So it's a representation of the actual continent or the actual country or that actual state. Alright? So those are examples of scale drawing. Another example of scale drawing could be a picture of yourself. Normally it just gives you a picture of how you look. Right? So that's another example of scale drawing. And you have pictures of different size. Alright? Alright. The standard way to write the scale is the scale model to the actual object. That is scale to actual. And if you should write this as a fraction, you'd have the scale length over the actual length. Alright, so that's how you'll find the scale. This is how you write the scale. It's always the scale length over the actual length. Alright, so you have to remember scale length always over actual length. Scale to actual is the same thing. If you can recall with ratio, when you write a ratio, for example, you have 1 to 3. You can write that ratio as a fraction, and it is 1 over 3. Alright? So that would be it. Alright? 1 over 3. So this 1 to 3 is the same thing as 1 over 3 as a fraction. Same here. Scale to actual is the same thing as scale over actual. Alright? Alright, so remember we said it is always the scale length over the actual length. Here I have an example. It says a flagpole is 1 inch equal 4 feet. If the pole measures 12 inches, how tall is the actual pole? Let's identify some key things in this sentence here or this question. It says 1 inch is equal to 4 feet. What is this saying to us? This is saying 1 inch on the scale drawing, it is actually 4 feet in real life. That's what it is saying. That's what that here is saying. It's saying 1 inch is equal to 4 feet. It is actually saying 1 inch is actually 4 feet in real life. That's what it is saying. So that's one key thing you have to ensure you focus on. The next part of the question says, if the pole measures 12 inches, how tall is the actual pole? So how tall is the actual pole? So 12 inches. If the pole measures 12 inches, it says how tall is the actual pole. So what is it? This is saying that we need to find the actual length of the pole. How tall is the actual pole? So the 12 inches here is the scale length. Alright? 12 inch there is the scale length. So to find the actual length of the pole, what is it that you're going to do? Remember, we said it's always the scale length over the actual length. So here, the scale length is 1 inch. Alright? The actual length is 4 feet. So when it is 1 inch, it's actually 4 feet. We are going to set this as a proportion now. So equal to, we want to know when it is 12 inch now, what is its actual length. So we use a letter, that is why I put X. We could use A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We use a letter for the unknown. This is what we want to find, the actual length. Why do I put 12 in the numerator? It's because that's the scale length. We want to find the actual length. That is what the question says. We should find the actual length of the pole. So how tall is the actual pole? So they give us a scale to work it. We know that every 1 inch on that pole would be 4 feet. So we want to know, when it is 12 inch, how tall is the actual pole? To solve this, we have to cross multiply. So we use 1 times x. We have 1 multiplied by x is equal to 4 multiplied by 12. So 4 multiplied by 12. 1 times x, some of us will say 1x or x, it's the same. And 4 times 12 we know is 48. And this will be 48 feet. So the length of the actual pole is 48 feet. Alright? So when the pole is 12 inches on the drawing or in the model, it is actually 48 feet in real life. That is what it is saying. Alright? I'm also going to show you another way that you could solve the same problem. Alright, so we can also solve using a table. So we'll have the scale length on one side. We'll also have the actual length on the other side. So the scale that they gave us is 1 inch. So 1 inch would come to this side, and the 4 feet would come on that side. So 1 inch to 4 feet. It was given that it is 12 inches. And if you please to bear in mind, all the same units is always on the same side. So inch is on this side, all inches have to be on this side. Feet is on this side, then all feet have to be on this side. Alright? So we want to find, when it is 12 inch in the scale, what is the actual length of the pole? That's what we want to find. So this is our question here. This is what we want to find. Alright? This is the question we're going to ask ourselves. What can we do to 1 to get 4? What can we do to 1 to get 4? It is never adding or subtracting. It's either you multiply or you divide. So it's either to multiply or divide. So how did I get from 1 to 4? I'd have to multiply by 4. Because 1 times 4 will give me 4. Anything that I multiply here by to get the actual, I would have to multiply this here to get what is the actual when it is 12 inches. So if I multiply 12 by 4, I'm still getting the 48 feet. So any of the two method works, but you have to still know how to set it as a proportion, right? So any of the two method works. And remember, when you're doing the table, it's never add or subtract. It's always multiply or divide. It's because it is proportional, all right? So when we talk about proportional, we're not going to say it is add or subtract. It's either we are multiplying to get the other side or we are dividing to get the other side. Or we can multiply by a fraction because dividing will work out to be the same. Alright, I don't expect you to get it on the first go, so I'm going to work another example for you to better understand. Alright, another example. It says that scale is 1 centimeter equal 8 kilometers. Hatboro and Smithville are 24 centimeters apart on the map. How far apart are they? Alright? So key things that we need to highlight. It says 1 centimeter equal 8 kilometer. What is that saying? It is saying every 1 centimeter on the map, it is actually 8 kilometers in real life. Alright? It says Hatboro and Smithville are 24 centimeters or 24 centimeters apart on the map. So that's a key for us. It says 24 centimeters apart on the map. This is telling us that 24 on the map means that is the scale. Alright? That is the scale length. So we are going to first write the scale that we are given as a ratio. We are going to write it as a ratio in fractions. So that's 1 over 8. Right? I'm going to write the units on it so you can observe something. Equal, so we're setting it as a proportion, equal 24 centimeters will go in the numerator because remember it's always scale over actual, and 24 we say would be the scale because it says on a map. Alright, so that's an in to tell you which is the scale and which is the actual. So 24 centimeters will go in the numerator and we want to find the actual. Alright, length. Something you two should observe whenever we write it as a proportion. If we have centimeter in the numerator here for the scale, when we're finding, we have to have centimeters in the numerator over here. We have kilometer, the answer that we want to find, the actual, how far or the distance between the two cities is kilometer, would be in kilometer. Alright, so we have to also bear that in mind. I want to erase these so you can better see what happens. So remember, once we set it as a proportion, all we need now is to cross multiply. So we're going to cross multiply. 1 times x is equal to 8 times 24. Alright? 1 times x would be equal to x or 1x, and 8 times 24 would be equal to 192, and it will be 192 kilometers. Always remember to write your units. Alright, always remember to write your units. And as I said before, there are two ways to do it. We can put it as a table where on one side of the table we have the scale and the other side of the table we have the actual. And we can put the units there. So kilometers will go on this side of the table, and this side of the table we would have centimeters. Alright? Centimeters. So you know the units for this side, centimeter, the units for this side would be kilometers. Alright. So we have 1 centimeter is equal to 8 kilometers. Now we have 24 centimeters. We want to know how much kilometer would that be. So ask ourselves again, how did we move from 1 to 8? Remember, it's either by multiplying by a number or dividing by a number. What could we do to 1 to get 8? We multiply by 8. So 1 times 8 would give us 8. Anything that we multiply the scale by here, would have to multiply this scale also by that number. So we multiply 24 by 8, which will give us the 192 kilometers. Just the same. So any of the method would work. Alright? Any method there would work. Whether you want to set it as a proportion or you want to set it as, do it in the table format. Alright? Alright. The third example. The scale drawing car length is 3 centimeters. If the scale is 1 centimeter equal 4 feet, what is the actual car length? Alright? So let's identify the key terms or the key phrases in the question. So it says the scale drawing car length is 3 centimeters. So the scale drawing car length is 3 centimeters. It tells you that's the scale drawing length. Alright? It says if the scale is 1 centimeter, so we're using 1 centimeter equal 4 feet. What is the actual car length? So we want to find, this is the question, we want to find the actual car length. Alright? What is the actual car length? Remember, once we're doing scale drawing, it's always the scale over actual. Alright? Always scale over actual. The scale that they give us in the question, first thing we need to do is to write it as a ratio in fraction form. So writing 1 centimeter equal 4 feet as a ratio in fraction form would be 1 over 4. Alright? So we're going to set it as a proportion now. So equal to 3 centimeter. This 3 centimeter is the scale length. So since that's the scale length, scale is always in the numerator, 3 is going to be in our numerator. We want to find the actual length, which is going to be the unknown in our denominator. Alright? After that, the next step is to cross multiply. 1 times x is equal to 4 multiplied by 3. So we cross multiply. 1 times x is 1x, or same thing as x, which is equal to 12, and it's going to be 12 feet. Don't you leave your units. And units are very important. So it is 12 feet. So what is this saying? 3 centimeters on the car length is actually 12 feet. Alright? 3 centimeters of the car is actually 12 feet in real life. That's what it is saying. And remember, I said there are 2 ways that we can solve this. We can draw it, put it as a table as well. When we're doing the table, always remember we have scale, and this scale would be in centimeter to one side, and we have the actual, and that's going to be in feet to one side. Alright, so all the scale length go to one side, all the actual length will go to one side. The scale that they gave us was, the scale that they gave us in the question was 1 centimeter equal 4 feet. So 1 centimeter goes on the scale, 4 feet would go on the actual. So let's do that. 1 centimeter and 4 feet, right? Next is given in the question. They tell us that the scale drawing car length is 3 centimeter. The scale drawing car length. So 3 centimeter would go on the scale. So we have the 3 here. Alright? The next question which we want to ask ourselves. How did we move from 1 to 4? Remember, it is always multiply. We're multiplying by a number or dividing by a number. So what did we do to 1 to get 4? Obvious, we multiplied by 4. Because 1 times 4 will give us 4. So now, anything that we multiplied this scale by, because scale drawings are proportional, anything we multiply this scale by, we have to multiply this scale also by it. So we'll have to multiply this scale by 4 as well, which is going to give us 12 feet. And we know it's feet because you notice I put my units there. So that will give us 12 feet. Alright? I will create another lesson. Hope you enjoyed that lesson. And have a great time. Bye.